I missed last week, although so did the Titans, so that's okay. We're in a tailspin, but it's familiar. It's like going on that scary roller coaster ride as a kid and reliving that feeling, being frightened, sick to your stomach, and not knowing if it's ever going to end. The Titans are 1-3 and have been outscored by 16, 26, and 24 points the past 3 weeks. This week, the Titans welcome the perpetually new-look Cleveland Browns. Can't wait to see what Nike does to that color scheme. With that kind of a weak introduction, how you doing, Sharona? What you drinking this evening?
I am drinking a Gerst Pale Ale. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. It's very good. I really enjoy Gerst beer. Another local beer produced by Yazoo Brewing Company that also produced Yazoo Pale Ale, and there's another.
Dos Perros?
Yes.
I always get.
Yes, the Dos Perros. I tried to trill my tongue and didn't do it. I did it that time. See, I can do it.
Was Gerst the original name of the brewery or something like a long
Yes,
time
it
ago
was.
that they repurposed?
Yazoo. Oh, I think Yazoo bought them.
Well, fair
Neil McCormick.
listeners and watchers, we're going to do a bit of a combo show tonight. We're going to do our Going for Two, but we're also going to include Know Your Enemy, assuming our buddy John Beckler shows up and wants to talk to us about the Titans and the Browns. And while we're waiting for him, we can talk about the important, exciting issues of the week. Yeah, Jake Locker's coming back. How do you feel about that?
Well, I am cautiously optimistic once again because Sharona is an optimist, and I want to think that Jake Locker can get something done. There's hope, I believe, because Ken Wisenhunt, head coach Ken Wisenhunt, who calls the offensive plays as well, has indicated that he's going to simplify the offense. Neither offense nor defense are playing very well under the new system. They're actually not playing very well under the new system. So, maybe a simplification is going to help. So we will see.
I'm just wondering how complex this offense really is when you're running Dexter McCluster up the gut 3 times a week. By the way, John said he clicked the link, but he says he's waiting for others to join. I wonder if that's a different session or something.
I sent him another link, so I sent him the link that we're in. So we'll see. Sometimes Google acts kind of funky, and it's definitely been going through some things because as you can tell, I don't have a banner up, and I've got this big screen to work with, and Zach's got his banner up, and he's got this little teeny tiny screen to work with.
That's how I use it, and I gotta represent stuff. So according to Nashville, I don't even know what Nashville magazine this was. Charlie Whitehurst is one of Nashville's was it most attractive men, or is he available? Is he a bachelor? All I know is the way he played.
I have no idea. I don't really pay much attention to that because, if they publicize it and talk about it and everything, obviously I do. And if I have an opportunity to meet somebody's significant other and get to know them, I obviously know that as well. But otherwise, I don't pay that much attention. So I don't know. It is Nashville lifestyle.
Well, I should keep the beard then, huh? That's the way to go.
Yeah. So, yeah. Congrats to Tablet Jesus, who is an attractive guy. It was a nice choice. He's got the hair, he's got the beard. He's very much got the Aragorn from Lord of the Rings look going on, and which is very close to my heart because I love Viggo Mortensen, and I loved him in that movie.
Well, that's right. Lord of the Rings, where they have magical powers like the ability to throw the football to an open receiver and hit them and then not drop it.
And yeah, right.
Do it, but they must have some kind of, I don't know, wizardry going on. I don't know. It kind of looked the same as Jake Locker because Whitehurst actually ran the ball some, and then
he did.
He'd throw the ball off target, and then he'd throw the ball on target, and the receiver would drop it. And then we had that great play where Kendall Wright caught the ball, fell down with nobody within 5 yards of him, and then fumbled the ball, which pretty much told you exactly where the game was going. Like the Titans, it's sad they're at the point. It's like if they don't make mistakes, they might be able to stay close, and I say might. But if they make mistakes like they did against the Colts, and they just aren't that good, yeah, they're gonna get smoked, unfortunately. So you wrote an article about potential changes the rest of the year. That's right. I read one of your articles. Oh, yeah.
So proud. Oh, I'm so proud.
But you're talking about potential changes to the team. It just didn't seem like they really had necessarily any options or depth.
They don't have a lot of options.
Could improve. I mean, all you were talking about is, give Sankey more touches. That seems to make sense. He had a very Bobby Rainey fantasy. Rainey had that week where he had one good drive, and that's where he got all his fantasy points. And Sankey had one drive where he got all of his yards and points. So maybe he'll do that again. But they still seem to give him a cluster of the ball rarely. And then, Sean Green likes to get his 2 yards and 1 yard to carry. I mean, it seems like
John
those
Green
are the
is
options.
actually averaging 4.3, 4.4 yards per carry. So, just throwing that out there. But let's not forget Leon Washington. He's got to get his carries too.
I think he was on the field. I don't know if he had any actual touches last week, but yeah, the love for all these different running backs. I mean, at least with the Falcons, they have 4 backs. They all seem to have a role, and they all seem to have talent. I'm not really sure. But, I mean, the options are Taylor Lewan. Do you put him at left tackle? Is Michael Ruse really the worst offensive lineman on the team? Is that going to help? I mean, I know that's the direction they want to go, but I always thought maybe he'll take Michael Ower's job, but it sounds like he's stuck at right tackle.
Well, I don't know. I don't know why that you wouldn't put Taylor Lewan at. Just go ahead and put him at left tackle. That's where he's going to play. He's a young guy. That's what he's always played. Even though he did play some left guard, move Ruse to the right. Let Ruse play right tackle. He's a veteran. He ought to be able to do that a little bit easier than the rookie.
Somehow, I don't know. I was wondering if Lewan actually played right tackle because he was playing guard in preseason. So I just saw him playing guard as backup, and when Levitri was hurt.
He was playing guard because Andy Levitri was still out. He had not yet been. He played some guard maybe 3 days in practice. And I mean, he's come in some games and played, but in games it's been at left tackle.
Yeah, so just I don't know. It seems like the line in general's not playing well. I don't know if although it sounds like Levitri's on the border of being called stealing money. I think when you play a position like guard that people don't notice, you can maybe get away with stuff. But that's the way it goes. What about she's typing. So
I am. I'm talking to John behind your back.
My gosh, another man. That's the way it goes sometimes,
Well, we are podcast polygamists, so
Yeah, it's an open open relationship. We talk about it sometimes. Sometimes we're like, that's all right. Don't bring anything home. But Bleedy's been not playing so well. But really, would Cody Sensabaugh playing the outside help at all? And who actually would be that other guy?
I mean, he didn't look that good outside in the preseason, which is largely why Bleedy won the outside spot, and they put Cody back at the slot nickelback role, and it has turned out pretty well because Cody's playing very well in his old position, the one that he's been playing for 3 years, and it looks good. He's the best. He is their best graded cornerback right now. I generally tend to agree with Pro Football Focus, and I agree with them on that. I think that he's probably playing the best, which is not a knock against Jason McCourty. He's just been banged up.
He sure has. Yeah, and Michael Griffin, I think I saw him whiff on a tackle. I think actually Trent Richardson juked him. I saw that. I'm like, oh my gosh. You know that was tweet worthy right there. Oh, I see. Oh, might we have another person?
We have the great John!
How's it going, guys?
Hey!
John Beckler is in. Well,
John, you haven't missed anything. All we've been doing is talking about how badly the Titans suck.
Well, I'm used to talking about the football team sucking where I'm from, so I'll fit right in that conversation.
Yeah, so let's shift here. We're going to switch. This is kind of the Know Your Enemy portion of the show. I'm going to bring on John Beckler, his Beckler-ness, co-host of the Bossman Show. I'm not sure if he's still Fantasy Taz's personal concierge or if that relationship ended, but
for life. I'm always Taz's concierge for life.
Okay. And he's also a big fan of Tommy Boy judging by his Avatar game. So, John, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing real good, guys. It's good to be talking with you again, Zach. Sharona, it's good to meet you for the first time.
Nice to meet you too, John.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting it up with you about the game this weekend.
Me too.
So we're going to talk about the Browns and the Titans. Hey, it's one of, 13 games this weekend? So it's at least the 13th best game. So let's ask some questions. Sharona, if you have anything, feel free to jump in, and then John will give you a shot to ask us some questions when we're done with you. So how are you feeling about the team after 3 weeks compared to the way you felt maybe when the season started?
Well, I feel pretty good about the team. I mean, I didn't have great expectations coming into the season, so it's hard for me not to feel good about them winning their home opener. They had a tough loss to start the season with Pittsburgh. They came out, they beat the Saints, which was unexpected and good, and then they, obviously lost the last game against Baltimore. But all their games have been very close. They've been running the ball very well. The quarterback situation has settled down somewhat, with Hoyer playing fairly well or doing what they're asking him to do. So from the perspective of 3 games into the season, I'm content with where the Browns are at.
Well, how is that backfield going to shape up? I mean, I should just say when Ben Tate gets hurt again, who's getting the lion's share of the carries? I ask because I have a personal fantasy stake. I picked up Crowell, but I had to grab Tate just to be double sure.
Well, I'm like you, Zach. I've got him. I've got Tate, Crowell, and West all over the place because early in the preseason and even in training camp, it was pretty clear to everyone that the running game was going to be an emphasis for Cleveland, and it has been. They've been running the ball quite a bit. They've done well running the ball, and I think that it's going to be kind of a hot hand situation as far as the running backs are concerned. I agree with you. I think Tate is probably going to go down or at least get nicked up at some point. And this latest injury has to give the Browns a little bit of pause to say, okay, we've got these 2 strong rookie running backs. Maybe we lighten his load a little bit. Instead of having Ben Tate in a feature role back, we get him out there and kind of wear the defense out. And as the game moves along, we kind of shift over to the rookies or let the guy who's got the hot hand that day carry the ball the most, which I think is where we're going with this.
But Crowell's been kind of, I don't know, maybe part-time, but it seems like he's been the goal line back. I mean, doesn't he already have more touchdowns than they had running like all last year?
Yeah, he's been getting in the end zone quite a bit, and I think that's partially because of the defenses they faced, and partially because of his talent. But again, he was an undrafted rookie, so you have to kind of keep that in mind. And we kind of got a reminder of that today with the Justin Hunter trade rumors. Talking about Justin Hunter getting traded for Crowell, it's just not something that was going to jive. It sounds great, but it doesn't really work for the Titans in that regard. He is an undrafted rookie, and from that perspective, you've got to take his production with a grain of salt. We're 3 games into his rookie season, so let's see how the year plays out. One thing we know about rookie running backs is, they can't have problems as the season goes along because of the amount of carries they're not used to getting that many carries coming out of the college game. So it's something to keep in mind. They have 3 quality backs. It's an enviable position for the Browns to be in, I believe.
Yeah, that trade rumor definitely stank of.
Yeah.
It was one of those. Oh, it's 2 skill position players, so it definitely sounds like a rumor because NFL teams just.
It didn't make any sense because they have an Isaiah Crowell on their practice squad and Antonio Andrews, who they really like, and he's obviously an undrafted free agent running back, and they already have a plethora of other running backs that they don't use anyway, so I don't know why they would.
It's
They would
almost
make
like one
that
of those.
trade.
It's like one of those bad fantasy trades that you get.
Yeah, right?
Somebody's trying to get Julio Jones off your roster for the worst running back in the league. It just is not. That's kind of the way that it smelled to me when I saw it. So.
Yeah.
Definitely. So you mentioned Hoyer already. Brian Hoyer is the longest streak of a Browns quarterback without an interception since the immortal Vinny Testaverde. So is he going to be the man for the rest of the season, rendering my draft pick of Johnny Football moot?
It's shocking to me that Testaverde came up here with interceptions. We used to call him Interceptiverde when I was a kid because he threw tons and tons of interceptions, not only for the Browns but for the Bucks, and he just has that kind of aura about him. I don't know if the stats bear it out, but he just seemed to always be throwing interceptions. He was a talented quarterback, but I think as far as Hoyer is concerned, he probably is going to be the guy the rest of the way out, mainly because he's doing what they're asking him to do. They're not going to be winning a lot of games through the air. They're a run-first team. They've got a good stable of running backs, as we just talked about. So as long as he's not turning the ball over, there's no reason for them to shift over to Johnny Manziel. And he just seems to me like he's kind of got command of the offense. He understands what they are asking him to do, and he's going out there and doing that, not making mistakes. Now, if he gets into a stretch like the Browns had last year where they just started ripping off loss after loss after loss, and they were ugly losses, different story. Then you might have to switch it up and go with the rookie just to see what you have in him. But up until this point, I mean, they've played 3 games, and I think that they've the difference in those games, I believe, has been 8 points total. They had a 2-point loss, a 3-point win, and a 2-point loss. So I believe that he's probably the guy long term as far as this season is concerned, Zach.
Close games. What's that like? I don't remember. We live in a strange world. So how awesome is Andrew Hawkins? I mean, he's been getting all the targets from this year.
Yeah, I'm excited about having him in town. I mean, the receiving core to start the season was really, on paper, you looked at it, you were just like, ugh. Like, what is that nastiness? On paper, they probably had the worst receiving core in the league, and I don't really think there was any question about that. But Austin has played fairly well, which surprised me. I thought he would have already been, riding the bike on the sidelines by now. Hawkins has been a pleasant surprise. I think we all knew what kind of talent he had in seeing him in spots in Cincinnati last year, but. Moving forward, I think he's a guy that's more than capable of not only for fantasy purposes but for real life football purposes, contributing to that team and making a difference. Now, his issue as far as fantasy stats are concerned is touchdowns. He needs to start getting the end zone more. I don't know how much he's going to get targeted in the red zone and those types of things. Most of his touchdowns, I think, are going to come from outside that 20-yard or 30-yard mark. I think this season he's got 25-yard catch or more, one of those in each game that he's played so far this year. So he's got the capability to make a big play. Would be nice to see him take a couple of those to the house.
Well, there's always this week. Are you excited that Josh Gordon is going to return this season, albeit late?
Absolutely. I mean, I just, from the fans' perspective, from the analyst perspective, a guy like that, having him on the field is just so fun to watch. And I really think that, once the story came out about Josh Gordon and how little he failed that drug test by and some of the other league standards that we've seen as far as Major League Baseball, NHL, NBA, those types of things, and how strict the NFL's testing rule was, he kind of seemed to get a bad rap as far as that was concerned. And he kind of got railroaded a little bit, in my opinion. Now, I might be a little skewed because, he is on my hometown team, but in all reality, I think it's good for the league that he's back this season. Definitely good for the Cleveland Browns. I think that the offense is really going to cook when he's out there. I mean, you see it every week when you have a guy who can stretch the field and play the way that he does at the receiver position. It really opens up what you can do in the running game. And when the Browns are wanting to run the football, it's just going to do nothing but help them, not only in the pass game but the run game as well.
Just real quick, I want to say it definitely isn't just you because you're a Browns fan. Josh Gordon did get railroaded. I've written a lot about the drug policy. I was shocked to find the threshold that low. It was incredibly low, and obviously they've recognized that and they've reworked things, and so that situation is going to get a lot better.
Yeah, I agree completely.
So the defense has been surprisingly leaky so far this year. Is there hope for improvement besides in the short term due to playing the Titans?
I really think it'll be tough. I mean, it's going to be tough, not because the defenses are great, but just because both teams have difficulty stopping the run. I think it's going to be a lot of rushing attempts. The Titans got back Locker this week, and that's going to help them a little bit. But I just don't see it being much of an air it out type of game. I mean, both teams give it up on the ground in chunks. The Browns just as bad as the Titans in that regard. So I think that we're going to see one of two things: either the run games are going to sputter, or they're really going to take off against each other. And I think it's going to be the latter. So we're going to see a lot of rushing attempts from both sides. And, these two teams are similar in that regard. They've had trouble on defense stopping the run of their defensive fronts. And until they get that shored up, it's going to hurt the back end of your defense. And that's just the way it is. And I think the Browns probably long-term will get better as the season goes along, barring injury. But they still need some work up front on that defensive line. And that's probably where they're going to be looking, I would think, early on. They're going to have 2 first-rounders next year with Buffalo going to Kyle Orton. Maybe that one turns out to be a pretty high pick and they can get a defensive lineman there. But we'll see how that shakes out. In Cleveland, we're always talking about the draft. Right now, we could be talking about the 2016 draft, really. So that's the case there. But I think that both teams are going to run the ball. Both defensive lines are going to have their work cut out for them this coming Sunday.
Yeah, you'll definitely be fans of 2 teams, the Browns and whoever's playing the Bills for the rest of the year, that's for sure. So from your point of view, what kind of personnel advantages do the Browns have over the Titans, and what matchups are you worried about from the Titans side on Sunday?
I think that from the running game standpoint that we just touched on, if you are a Browns fan, you have to feel good about the fact that you're getting Tate back, whether it be in a limited capacity or not. Now you have 3 guys that can wear on a defensive line and a defense as a whole that's given up tons of yardage through the run game and had issues stopping that. So you have to feel good about that matchup. Now, also, for Browns fans, you have to feel kind of badly about the Tennessee Titans and their ability to run the ball on you. Sankey got some more touches last week, and you can expect him to get more this week because I believe that the Tennessee Titans, like other teams in the league, have noticed that the Browns have trouble stopping the run. They're going to have to build their game plan around that. So it would not surprise me one bit to see, the Sankey and Green combo get off a little bit in this game.
Yeah, so we're going to go over under maybe 40 passing attempts, or we could see a little triple option maybe this weekend on both sides. Cause,
could be.
I mean,
a little wing tee out there. Who knows?
That's what was
direct snap to Bishop Sankey for the win.
That first game against the Steelers, they basically had a hurry-up offense, but it was run-based. I was like, hey, the Titans should, think of something like that. But it worked out, and it was a rivalry game, so... And this is the important question. Now, Sharona and I have talked over the last few weeks about what the Titans can do as a fan base because it's just not a very exciting time for the franchise. So what can a long-standing Browns fan teach the Titans about suffering and how to get through it?
Well, I think it's tough. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's tough. When you, and in all seriousness, it's very fun to joke around. That's what a lot of people find solace in comedy and having fun at the expense of the team and those types of things. But it is difficult, and I think Browns fans have gotten through it by looking ahead to next year and analyzing what the team's needs are and trying to rectify what the team needs with what they do. And it really sounds bad, but looking ahead to next year's draft, looking at the college game on Saturday and saying, hey, you know what, that'd be a good guy to target for our team. He would fit in with what we're trying to do, what Wisenhunt is trying to do here with this program. That is a guy that we could use in our squad. So it's all about looking ahead, really. When you don't have anything to play for on Sundays, maybe you find something on Saturdays, I guess is the best way to put it.
It's one way to go. Yeah, I guess you got to look at the bright side of life. So what's your bottom line prediction on the game? And, of course, what beer might you be consuming on Sunday?
Well, the prediction for me for the game is going to be a tight game. I think it's going to go right along with what the Browns are playing like all season. Going to be a lot of running attempts. Going to be a quick game. I see it being a field goal. I think the Browns have a little bit more on offense to win the ball game. I think they go down to Tennessee, get the victory, and come back. Final score, I would say, is probably somewhere in the 24-21 range in that ballpark. But I do think it's going to be a very hotly contested game, and it's going to come down to the wire. As far as beer, Zach, you may have forgotten, but I've been sober for 6.5 years now, so it's all Coca-Cola for me, brother.
So it's a very sensitive question of mine. Okay.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So is a
Congratulations,
soda of choice then?
Yep, I'll be drinking the Coke, man.
Coffee? Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
See good
I
stuff
just
out
gave
there.
up wine myself, and even though I'm drinking a beer tonight, um, I have definitely decided, because alcohol is just such full of, uh, empty calories that I don't necessarily think are really good for me. And I feel a lot better since I gave up wine, and it's been like I'm on day 15. I can tell such a huge difference, and so I can totally understand that. John, if I could just ask you a quick question about Ray Horton, because I know that you're familiar, and I've been cautioned by a number of people to be patient because Ray Horton's defenses are extremely complex, and that it generally takes about 7 or 8 games even for players to get comfortable. Is that an accurate assessment?
I believe so. When he came on in Cleveland, I really thought that he was the best free agent signing of the entire league that year, player, coach, anybody. And I was very, very impressed with him as a person through interviews that he did here within the city, what he did with the team as far as the players were concerned. I do believe that what he brings to the table is something that takes time to implement. And if he's allowed to stay within a system and work his system for an extended period of time. Obviously, in the NFL, an extended period of time is only a couple of years, but
Yeah, right.
I believe it's something that is worth waiting for. He has definitely got a great football mind, and I know you guys have had the opportunity to see him speak and hear what he brings to the table. And he's a very impressive, not only impressive coach, but an impressive man altogether.
Yeah, I love Ray Horton. I am extremely happy that he is the Titans' defensive coordinator. They are definitely not playing very well right now, but high hopes that that's going to change soon.
Maybe it's a reverse psychology thing. Like, if they don't do that well this year, he's been a hot head coaching name, and maybe I can at least hold on to him for a year and figure out exactly where these people fit in the scheme. So, John, is there anything you'd like to ask us about the game?
In general, my question usually to Titans fans is, how much longer does Jake Locker have with the organization? I know he's been hurt, and there's been lots of different things that have gone on with Jake Locker. I think he's a capable quarterback, but he's really had a lot of leash given to him. Is it something that is being looked at within the fan base as, hey, maybe we got to move on from this guy, or how do Titans fans feel as a whole about Locker?
Not good. I think it's the injuries. I think at first everybody was excited because his rookie year he came in and had some nice passing performances, but yeah, every year he's been hurt and he's been just kind of inaccurate. It's weird. He has really good mechanics, it seems, but he sometimes can't hit the broadside of the barn. Sometimes his receivers don't catch the ball either, which is true. But as you saw last week, Whitehurst is a really good tablet carrier on the sideline, and Zach Mettenberger is as prepared as a sixth-round rookie you would expect. So I don't think they have much options in the way this year. I'm not. It's not like 2011 where it was guaranteed the Titans were taking a quarterback in the first round, but it's a pretty good chance they'll be looking somewhere else next year.
That's got one on the roster. Maybe we can work something out. We got one. You want to work a deal for JFF?
Or Johnny Clipboard? He's Johnny Tablet.
He's a good receiver, though. Did you see that catch he made? It didn't count, but he made a nice catch down the sideline.
Did see that. Yeah. Well, Andy Dalton cut a touchdown pass against the Titans, so we're quite familiar with that.
That's going to be shown for years.
That weekend, there was like 2 or 3 quarterbacks that had receptions, or at least attempted receptions. That was an odd weekend.
Yeah.
Very much so. Well, John, thanks a lot for joining us on the show, and of course enduring the technical difficulties, but that's the way it goes in Google Hangout land. So just tell everybody where they can find you on the webs and all that. I'll have another cough drop.
Well, you guys can follow me on Twitter, @JD Beckler. Also find me on AM 1100 in Atlanta. We are on Saturday mornings 9 to 10 for the Boss Man Show, and we live stream. The links are always out on the Twitter feed and throughout the Twitterverse. So go ahead and check me out there to get the links for the show. And I'm very, very happy to be on with you guys tonight. Sharona, was very nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you too.
and get a chance to talk to you. And Zach, as always, always fun to chat with you, my friend.
It's always good, yeah. Thanks for coming on, giving us the other point of view.
Anytime.
All right.
Sweet. Well, gosh. So NFL time. I don't know. Is there anything else about Titans you wanted to talk about?
Are we not done talking about the Titans?
It's up to you. I'll talk about the defense, and then I just kind of worked out that in my notes, the last thing I had to say about Titans was, defensive changes. I mean, I guess we could say, the next 2 weeks they're playing the Browns and the Jaguars, and those aren't the most two exciting teams. So we're going to have a really quiet crowd, you think?
I'm anxious to see what kind of crowd there will be. Technically, I think it's labeled as a sellout, but if you're familiar with ticket situation here in Nashville, that's mostly resellers coming in and filling that gap. There will be plenty of tickets available, no question. So, but the judge, how you judge it, is by the stadium, really. And their last home game, it was mostly Dallas Cowboy fans. So I guess we'll see.
Oh my, that was bad. Yep. When you said Texas and the crowd went crazy, you knew. Oh boy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Browns, it doesn't seem like the Browns and the Jaguars are traditional big traveling crowds. I've seen some Texans fans at games before, but we'll see. I will not be up this weekend, but I'll be up next weekend for the game. So,
so you're coming to the Jaguars game, but not to the Browns game?
Doing a schedule adjustment. There's a book festival in town, so the wife will all be in town. We're going to kitty sitter. We're going to live it up.
Look at you out on the town at the book. I'm actually jealous because I love going to those things, but I was actually going to make the game this weekend, so, well.
Well, I'd say look for you in Sunday Ticket. We'll see. But speaking of Sunday Ticket, this was I don't know if this is the biggest NFL news today, but it was something that I saw this afternoon. So the whole DirecTV deal was expanded for 8 years, $12 billion. I always thought the DirecTV was kind of a short-term thing just because not everybody can get satellite. I have 500 trees in my yard, so I never can get satellite. But it seems like I think they're banking on this mobile. I mean, a lot of people think you have the Xbox, so you can get it through your gaming console, or you can get it just on your laptop and on your phone now. So, wow, that's a lot of money, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, the FCC has voted to do away with the blackout rule.
Didn't the NFL pretty much say poo to you on that? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch, I think. We'll see what happens with that.
I mean,
also, speaking of the FCC, they've also sort of talked about including the Washington Redskins nickname, Redskins, in their ban on offensive words. So we'll see about that. That could be big.
Yeah, that should be fun. I can't wait for Titans Washington week. That should be interesting. Know your enemy. If we're getting to that discussion. Yeah. We're going to talk about issues and stuff. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly. So it's an interesting time because it's the NFL Breast Cancer Awareness Month, where
it's Pink Month. I didn't wear pink tonight. I'm sorry.
We'll see the football bounce off pink gloves off of Justin Hunter's hands this weekend. Oh, all right. Yeah. So, do you have any kind of different attitude this year about because of what's happened with the NFL and women over the past, I guess forever, but now it's more publicly known?
Not really, not particularly. I mean, I've always known that there were issues with that, and I've tried to talk about it in the past, and people are like, it's still a good cause, and blah blah blah. And yes, it is, but that doesn't mean that we can't talk about the fact that less than 10% of the proceeds go to actually cancer research and some of the other issues. I still think that you have to recognize that it is still a good thing, because any money that goes toward cancer research is good. Cancer is a terrible disease. It needs to be eradicated, but so far we've not made much progress there. And that discussion is way beyond this show. But yeah, I think that it's certainly something that's still deserving of recognition.
Well, I do think it's important for people to bring up the fact, like, you assume because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, like, oh, they're selling special team stuff and all this money is going to charity. It's like, well, not all the money is going to charity, and that's something. Anytime you donate to a charity, you should really take a look, do a little dive, and see you got some rich executives running a board there, or do they actually see where the money's going to help people out? Because there are a lot of good causes out there, and you want to be able to when you're donating to a cause, you want to make sure that that's actually the main focus. But it's football. We love football. It's a PR move, and what are you gonna do? I'm sure I'll be getting pink flags, or the next time I come to Nashville, right?
I'm sure that you'll be wearing a pink Jake Locker jersey.
Ooh, I have a red one. I could just put it in the wrong wash.
You could dye it, yeah.
Bleach. Oh my gosh.
Bleach it, yeah. Now, I actually think I'm not sure what happens when you bleach red. When you
I don't think I would need to find out.
When you bleach, is it blue or black? It turns brown, like a brown's brown. So, just a word of warning there.
Yeah. Okay. I am in charge of laundry, by the way. I'll just put that out there.
Oh yeah, I've got some laundry to be done. Aren't you supposed to be my personal concierge?
Oh, it hurts. I thought we were talking about fantasy. I don't know. Yeah, that was a fun exchange. Matt Waldman was nice enough to call me the fantasy follow of the day. He referred to me as some kind of concierge, so I thought I was more like the lobby boy from that Budapest Hotel movie. Anyway, so that's me, concierge. So in fantasy football, how are you doing? We're about a quarter of the way through the year, really a third of the way through the regular season.
I am undefeated in one league. I am 3-1 in two leagues, and I am 0-4 in my suck-ass Colin Kaepernick league.
Is that what it's called?
I actually, amazingly, have won in my Dynasty League despite Tom Brady sucking it up.
Yeah,
But I lost this past weekend. I lost it because of him.
I'm in a Dynasty League, and after last week beating my dad in our local league and being all excited, then he beat me in Dynasty. And then our British guy who won the championship last week pointed out that I have the highest point total, and I'm 1-3. So yay! But hey, my local league, where I started with the lowest score in the league in week 1, I sadly had a 1-point win that turned into a loss thanks to a tiebreaker. Somehow Shane Vereen lost the catch like on Thursday of the same week.
Yeah, those stat adjustments are crap. I don't like that.
It's only happened twice ever.
They do it with
weird.
Defenses a lot. I don't like it.
I mean, what it said was one catch, and usually it's odd. It's like 1 catch for 1 yard. No, just 1 catch. And then 2 days later, it was gone, and I lost. But I have won the last 2 weeks and seem to be improving. I have a weird team because it's like very consistent. I don't have a lot of high scorers, but everybody gets 10 points. Shane Vereen gets 10 points every week, very unimpressively. I mean, and he averaged like 3 yards a touch last week. That was the weirdest. Just to see the Patriots get pummeled like that was just odd.
Yeah.
But hey, I drafted Travis Kelce late, and I was very happy to see him get that.
Good for you. Yeah, I'm calling him. I wrote about him for SB Nation. I call him Mini Gronk.
Yeah, I mean, when you throw like a screen pass, usually you're going for some kind of fast receiver or Demaryius Thomas type, and then you throw it to a tight end, and he's like running past guys and knocking them over. And
like Delaney.
Like Delaney, the one disappointment on the Titans roster. But I did appreciate, and this will go back to Titans just briefly, Bernard Pollard speaking very frankly about how the team sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have that.
Big ups to Crush Boy.
He's owning up to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been due to my drafting Adrian Peterson and having a bunch of crap otherwise, I've been streaming running back at my local league. So this week I picked up Ben Tate not sure if I'm going to start him, but I mean, right now my running back one in this league is Ahmad Bradshaw.
I've got Eddie Lacy, and he's really kind of stunk it up this year, and he's kind of hurt me too. And then in a couple of leagues, like I had Danny Woodhead in 2 leagues,
Ooh.
and that day that he got hurt, boy, that killed me. And then also, who was the other one that got? Oh, no, Sean Moreno. Him going down, that killed me too. I actually just dropped No Sean because he just said he's going to be out at least 4 more weeks, which we know is probably closer to 5 or 6. So don't expect to see him on the field anytime soon.
Yeah, that's one of those hard things in fantasy. Like, if you have an injured guy, can you hold him, or due to roster size, you have to let him go? I've had Jordan Reed, but luckily I had drafted Kels too, and now this week everybody's saying that Jordan Reed, is going to have a good week because now Paul is hurt. Is that one of the most frustrating things in fantasy, where somebody says, this player is a buy low, he's already on my roster, thanks, that's really useful.
Yeah.
I can't wait to buy this guy low that I drafted way too high. He stinks, like Shane Vereen. But at least he kind of has a consistent role, which wasn't too bad. Matt Asiata, fantasy MVP. By the way, I cut him in our league. Thank you. Good pick, man. Nice work. He's probably had more. I bet there's some like Hall of Famers who haven't had multiple 3-touchdown games. And Matt Asiata has. And I think he started 4 games in his life.
I've got Jarrett McKinnon, and I'm going to be playing him. He had a nice little fantasy game himself.
Yeah, it's hard to tell because 2 weeks ago it was like, well, he has all this talent, but he was playing like this wingback role in college, and he might not adjust, and the team likes Asiata, but they're playing the absolutely horrible Falcons defense. Sorry, Scott. And talk about a bad week they had. They had 2 offensive linemen go on the DL, and they lost their safety.
Yeah. And one of my tight ends is Levine Tololo, and he had to play right tackle for them in the last game. Thank God he was on my bench, and I didn't play him.
Yeah, I've, of course, been sick for the past couple weeks, so I just kind of was laying on the couch listening, and then I woke up in the second half and they're like, Levin Tololo's playing right tackle. I was like, what? Who? I mean, he's a big guy, but I don't think he's played tackle. So yeah, that wasn't going to go well. I mean, really,
they didn't have much choice. I mean, they were dropping like flies out there. I hate to see all these injuries.
It is true. So you're going to stay on the Steve Smith train? Are you going to hold on to this old dude if you have him?
I do not have Steve Smith. I had him last year. He kind of sucked for me last year. So I did not draft him this year, but I'm going to watch him because he has been on fire and running his mouth, which is maybe the second best thing that Steve Smith does besides play football.
Yeah, you like to have the personality. It seems like they're kind of sucking the life out of the personalities. I'm wondering about, if I need to try to make a deal for a guy like LaShawn McCoy. He's been playing bad. That's one thing that happens a lot in the NFL too. That the Eagles had, I think, all 5 of their offensive line starters played 16 games last year, and this year they lost their right tackle to suspension, and then they've lost at least 2, if not 3 guys. So it's weird to see LaShawn McCoy. He's like looking up to Trent Richardson in yards per carry, which is kind of sad. I mean, Trent Richardson actually had a good game against Titans, but he still had like 2.3 yards a carry. And he scored. And he had a 1-yard touchdown run that I think my mom could have converted. So it was a pretty easy one. But hey, I was just happy. You have that moment in fantasy.
I played him. I had picked him up and played him, so I was happy.
Where you need a guy to score at the end. Like in that Saints game, I had Des Bryant and Romo, and Romo was having a good game, but Bryant wasn't doing anything. And then that last touchdown of the game was Romo to Bryant, and that just turned my hopes around. It was funny that I was doing Travis Kelce and Shane Vereen versus Tom Brady, and it was like an even game, and I ended up winning by like 25. That shows what kind of game Brady had, but you know that pretty well.
I do know that. I know that extremely well.
I mean, it was late last week. Somebody posted that in one league, somebody dropped Brady and picked up Blake Bortles, and that actually looks like that might be a good move. That's
It might be.
just the way it goes.
I almost made the move today, except that Jake Locker looks like he's going to play, and so I'm going to play Jake Locker over Tom Brady in the bizarro world that is the current state of the NFL.
Well, I mean, in my deep dynasty league, I picked up Charlie Whitehurst just because I need a bye week guy for Cam Newton, and frankly, I need a fill-in for Cam Newton because he's not running the ball at all. The Panthers, there's a team that's struggling. They've had like 9 running backs go out injured, and now they're starting an undrafted rookie. Sorry, Tennessee guy, Tareen Poole had a fumble and got the boot.
Mm-hmm.
So soon. Oh.
Fumbled on his first carry.
I mean, that's just rough. You know?
God. Yeah.
Some guys fumble and they get away with it, and some it's like, yeah, it's like the end of the world.
Yeah.
Depends on the coaching staff. So I did another podcast this week. I was on the RotoViz radio.
Oh, cool.
I agreed to interview Matthew Friedman, who's Matt F. the Oracle on Twitter, and he's co-host of their podcast. I really like their podcast because they're very numbers based, and they tend to bring in people, I'd say, deeper off the bench than most fantasy podcasts. So I was glad to be on there. And it's also cool because Ryan Riddle was the other person on the show, and he was the guy who actually played in the NFL, and he writes for Bleacher Report, so he has a unique perspective. There aren't many. They're like the ex-players who become announcers, but the guy who becomes just like our writer who, he was in the league for like 2.5 years. It's just cool to see that kind of experience. He's one guy I've tried to interview and I haven't been able to corral him yet. So this is the next best thing. But it was fun.
It does sound fun.
Despite my muting half the time because I was coughing, but it works. So how about you? What you been up to? You're doing some appearances? The same old.
Well, mostly same old. I've been doing a lot of writing lately, which has been wonderful. And I just actually been working on a little bit of a kind of a special project, I guess you would see, and I just submitted it, so we'll see, kind of where that goes. And I got the opportunity to interview Sammy Watkins for Game Over with Zach and Sharona. We ran that today on our radio show. That was very, very, very cool. I think that I might have actually enticed, convinced, bullied Zach Law into coming on and talking some fantasy with us maybe next week. So I'm pretty excited. It's a big get. I've been working on this. My fingers are tired from working on this. So tomorrow we're going to have Micah James on, the fantasy football magician, magic man, because I'm a magic man. And then Friday we're going to talk some Browns too with Chris Martell, Browns and Predators, hockey,
huh?
And then, so awesome stuff. Friday night I'm going to be talking about the New Orleans Saints with Greg Barber. What is up with the Saints? They suck. And reviewing the Colts-Titans, shellacking the Titans with Brad Wells. I'm excited about that too.
Do you have to?
Yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment.
We haven't really covered this, so what do you think about this weekend? Like, do you think the Titans... I mean, the way the coaches are acting, it's not like, hey, we're going to fight and get together. It's like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with this team. I mean, that's kind of what I've gotten from the coaching staff, at least through the media filter.
Did we seriously mess up evaluating this talent? It's like,
we could have had the Detroit gig, but no, we picked this thing. They actually have a defense. Oh, wait.
So, we might actually see Akeem Ayers on the field, former second-round draft pick who... Very weird situation with him. He's been a healthy scratch several games. They've actually voluntarily played Quentin Groves over him, and so I don't know. I think that I think that the Browns are better than their record shows. You've already mentioned they've lost some close games. Uh, I'm in prove it to me mode with this year's Tennessee Titans. They talk a big game. We hear, Bernard Pollard, who actually has been playing as well as anybody on the team. Well, maybe not quite as well as Jarrell Casey, but he's been one of the bright spots on defense. He took responsibility. I haven't heard anybody else on that team. Maybe Delaney Walker has. I haven't heard about it. He would be a guy who would, though. But I haven't heard anybody else, any of the other guys, come out and say, you know what, I need to play better. I'm going to do better. So I guess we'll see.
Well, I think it was the first offensive play of the game for the Colts. Jarrell Casey was chasing Andrew Luck down, and he was faster than him. And I don't think Luck got that pass off, but they called holding anyway, so it didn't really matter. But it was one of those, it's 1st and 20, and they'll probably still get it, and they got it. So, but yeah, it's odd because it seems like Casey's getting all this pressure kind of early, and then later in the game, I don't know. I just think the defense is getting worn down. I think that's what's happening in a way. But they haven't been making the big play. They didn't get any turnovers, and they were turning the ball over. And what a surprise!
Yeah, I think that it's a legitimate point. I think that they are definitely on the field far too long. I wonder how good they would be otherwise. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to see and evaluate that.
It's kind of sad. Like, before you mentioned Ray Horton in the question, I totally forgot that he was the defensive coordinator. I was like, oh yeah, we were excited about him. And
at one point, we thought that was such a great hire. I still think it's a great hire. I can understand actually a little bit more why the defense and the defensive guys are struggling more than I can the offense. Because it is a different system. It's a different look. It's a 3-4, and the Titans have run some of it, but they have not run Ray Horton's. The offense being so terrible has been the bigger surprise to me.
Yeah, the fact that they haven't scored in the first quarter this year. Although, they have one missed field goal, but yeah, it's pretty
I'll
rough.
also say this: I'm not sure that I agree with you and John that the Titans are going to suddenly reach into their bag of tricks and decide, hey, you know what, we can run the football. Maybe we should do some of that. I guess I'll have to see that to believe it.
Oh, you don't think they're gonna focus on the run?
I think they're going to sling it out. I think that's in Ken Whisenhunt's DNA.
Well, he did get, as last year went on with the Chargers, they did seem to run the ball and kind of go with that very conservative kind of offense, even with Phillip Rivers, who was very accurate. So it's hard to say. The receivers, according to the PFF, had bad weeks. They're more talented than that. It's weird that Kendall Wright's not been used very much.
Kendall Wright's regression has been the most curious thing to me out of the whole deal.
Plus, it seemed like Hunter had a big catch in almost every preseason game. Probably not the last one because I don't even know if he played. But, yeah, in the regular season, he's gotten maybe one downfield shot or two a game, and every time it hasn't worked out. But the one that was tipped the defender, it's hard to tell if it was a bad pass or he just dropped it. But it hasn't worked yet. Maybe it's a greater sample size. I think I'm finally giving up. I've started him 3 weeks in a row in my dynasty, and every week I almost got more points from him getting a tackle than from his catch last week. That's how bad it was.
I played him last week. I will not be playing him this week.
And it was sad, too, because I started Mike Evans. He broke out, and then he injured himself. So,
yeah,
yay, fantasy.
I have Mike Evans, too. I played Justin Hunter because Demaryius Thomas was on a bye, and Demaryius is back, and he's a guy that struggled, but I've got more confidence in him than I do Justin right now.
Yeah. And Peyton's back. Peyton, come on.
Peyton.
Bring it on, Peyton. So, yeah, sorry I won't be there this weekend for the game.
I think you're doing it. You're just mad at me because I didn't make the tailgate and the Dallas Cowboys butt whooping.
Yeah, it was not meant to be, but we'll be in town Friday through Sunday, so we'll be around. It's tooling around town. We don't just hang out at my parents' house anymore. It's a strange new world. So many amazing Nashville beers to try and barbecue joints to attack. Attack like the football. My beer mentality, that's what I call it. Even though I'm not drinking tonight, but I'll catch up by this weekend.
I feel certain you will.
Before we call it a night, where does everybody find you, Sharona? Where do they find you? Where do they listen to you? Where do they read you?
They can find me on Twitter at Sports by Sharona, and you can pretty much keep up with all of my comings and goings there, or on my website, sportsbysharona.com.
There you go. You can find me, Zach Law online. You can go to Zach_Law on Twitter, and of course, fantasysports.org. I'll be doing my podcast of the week tomorrow, and the Oracle interview hopefully be posting by Friday. We're gonna just keep the content rolling because we are just getting started for this season. Only 8 more bye weeks left. But otherwise, yeah. And even if the Titans don't do well, I will be in a place with many TVs, so I can always turn my head. So thanks everybody for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the show, and thanks to John for joining us and talking some Browns. So everybody have a good week. Go Titans, go football, go all that good stuff.
Go fantasy football.
Oh, of course. Win. Let's all win now.